Good afternoon. Those who are joining us and there are victims in the case, can you please rename your phone to who you are so we know that who you are online so the judge can address you? And at the meantime, can you keep your camera turned off until the judge address you? There's no walking, there's no outside smoking or anything, eating or anything in court, and make sure you dress appropriately. So please rename your phone and turn off your camera. If you don't know how to rename your phone, you can DM me and let me know your name and I'll change it. Thank you. And if you do not know how to turn off your camera, I will just disman your camera until it's time for the judge to talk to you. iPhone 5, I need you to change your name. If you do not know, please let me know your name.
Oh my, interesting. All right. Paris Southall, please place her Zoom in a break in the waiting room until she removes that picture. It's interesting, but not appropriate. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to commence with our misdemeanor calendar for today, September 25th, 2024. These are cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon thereafter, their cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. If you are a defendant and your case has been recently accused, please make sure that you understand this is your initial appearance with a judicial officer. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Today, we are going to let you know what is your new case number, the charges that have been brought against you, to set a bond in any conditions if relevant, and also to give you a new court date if it applies to your case. Ms. Bridgewater, what are we looking at?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Your Honor. It's going to be October the 8th.
Okay, thank you. Let's begin with courtroom 2. Who do we have?
This is position number 3, Ms. Barnett.
This is State versus Tyrecia Burnett, accused of fair evasion and willful obstruction of an officer from September 24th of this year, 24 CR 6705B. Ms. Burnett, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Would that be correct, sir?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Howard, any priors?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Second arrest, 2015 shoplifting. Jail was the recommendation.
All right. Any objection to a jail bond, Ms. Mokeke?
No, Your Honor. We would also just ask that she be ordered to stay away from the incident location and have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Does she have a bond at the present? I mean, a suspension for MARTA?
The warrant did not say that she has an active suspension from MARTA, but she is accused of opening the emergency door to let someone in without paying the fare. That person then assaulted a MARTA employee, and then she proceeded to get in the way of officers when they attempted to detain that person, and then she herself was detained and resisted arrest at that time.
All right. On the fair evasion, it's going to be $500. On the willful obstruction, it's going to be $1,500. That's a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, and to stay away from all MARTA property until further order of the court. Ms. Burnett, you can sign up for your bond today, but if you return to any MARTA property, you will be arrested and brought back to jail. Your next court date will be sent to your current mailing address. So make sure we have your current address at all times. Thank you. Who are we addressing next?
Number 2, Brown.
Brown, okay. This is State versus Taquan R. Brown, accused of criminal trespass and terroristic threats and acts. This is from September 24th of this year, accusation 24 CR 6702D. Mr. Brown, you've been advised of your rights to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
12 total. 2024 obstruction, possession of marijuana. It's 24 CR 004 210D. I got another open case out of Brookhaven for trespass. FTA from last year, 2021. Well, 2 from 2021. He has a current bench warrant in Odyssey.
For the 210 case?
I'm not sure. I didn't look it up.
All right. Ms. Mokeke, what's the recommendation?
Just to put the facts on the record briefly, this incident occurred at the Five Below, located at 3232 Peachtree Road in Atlanta. The victim is Sharita Butler, who is a manager at the location. She told officers that she was threatened by the defendant when he threatened to shoot her and said that he would F her up. The defendant had been asked to leave multiple times and is a frequent shoplifter at the location. The incident was caught on camera and witnessed by another employee, Anaya Miller. Our office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Butler, who states the defendant comes into the store almost every day and steals and is also violent. She says she has minors who work at her store and she has to protect them, and everyone is afraid of the defendant. They always have to call security to get him out of the store, and yesterday was the last straw. She states that her minor workers were crying and they were afraid. She obviously wants contact with the defendant and also wants him to stay away. The state's recommendation is going to be $1,000 surety on each count, no further contact with the victim or any employees at Five Below, stay away from all Five Below locations, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. There is a concern that he will reoffend and also intimidate these witnesses, and his multiple FTAs show that he has a problem with showing up to court. I would ask that you sound for Ms. Butler. She's on the Zoom today.
What was it? Sharita Butler.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, this was Mr. McLean's client. I don't see.
I'm sorry, Mr. McLean, I beg your pardon? Yes, sir.
Quite all right. We split them up one way, but I happened to be closer to Mr. Brown's cell at the time of the interview. So he said he has a stable address here in Atlanta on Fulton Street. It's a house. And we're not employed right now. And so the stability of his address in Atlanta is the main point I can make about him, as far as being able to meet any Ayala factor and showing up for court. And of course, he would promise to stay out of trouble, but we would rely primarily on that Fulton Street address for our argument. Thank you.
All right. On the criminal trespass, that's going to be $1,500, and the terroristic threats, that's going to be $1,500. This is a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Sharita Butler to stay away from the Five Below store at the 3232 Peachtree Road location. Mr. Brown was granted a release bond in his other open case, 24 CR 004-210D. And Ms. Bridgewater, we are going to reset both cases to the October 8th calendar, 2024. Judge Edline does have a hearing in the older case on February 28th, 2025. So let's see what happens on October 8th prior to the February 2025 hearing.
Your Honor, will you repeat that old case number again?
24 CR 004-210D.
Thank you.
It's on the counter too, Ms. Holly.
Okay, okay, thank you.
No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Thank you.
All right, position 1 next.
That is at which location?
South.
South, okay. 3 South, we have Alfred Broughton, accused of theft by taking and criminal trespass on September 24th of this year, case 24 CR 6700C. Mr. Broughton, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors other than the open case?
The open 23 CR, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
20 total, 2022 probation, 3 2020 probation violations, 2018 ag stalking conviction, 2018 violation of family violence order conviction. That's it.
Ms. Allen, good afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened on the 24th. It's a theft by taking, 1 count at about 3:30 p.m. Police were called to 275 10th Street Northeast. That's the residence of Samuel Ward. The defendant came onto his porch, took the scooter on his porch and left with it. This was observed by the property manager. Your Honor, I think he already has a $1,500 bond, but I would point out that he just pled guilty on May 9th, 2024 on a case of loitering and prowling around Myrtle Street and 7th after 1 in the morning. And he also has a prior conviction for obstruction, criminal damage, and possession of a small amount of drugs. from 2022, Your Honor. So we'd be asking for a $2,000 surety to be ordered to stay away from the location. That's the entire complex there at 275 10th Street, and no contact with Mr. Samuel Ward, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Samuel Ward, are you on Zoom? All right, no. Mr. McLean?
It's fine, Your Honor.
Oh, Mr. Cook, sorry.
Sorry,
We're
we're,
gonna figure out who's closest to.
we're shuffling the deck. So, yes, Your Honor, my client is 42 years old. From what I can determine, he's homeless. He does use 420 Cortlandt Street as a mailing address, as many people apparently do. He's in the process of trying to get SSI. So his income at this point is zero. Beyond that, we would leave, which makes obviously his ability to pay any bond difficult. Beyond that, we would leave it in the discretion of the court.
A year ago, Mr. Broughton received a $10,000 signature bond through the jail to stay away from all Georgia Tech property. And just past 1 year, now he's arrested again with a similar offense of criminal trespass and theft by taking. On the theft by taking and the criminal trespass is going to be $1,000 surety on each count. That's a $2,000 surety. To stay away from 275 10th Street in Atlanta, Georgia, and which is the entire apartment complex, and have no contact with Samuel Ward. His next court date is going to be October 8th, and we will reset this case along with his other related matter. And Ms. Bridgewater, do you see the case number on the calendar?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next case, please.
ACDC can go ahead.
ACDC, who do we have, please?
Thank you, Ms. Blunt. Good afternoon, Judge Law. This is going to be position number 13, Ms. Witcher.
Okay.
I'm unmuted. Your Honor, there might be, depending on how we go on the first part, we may or may not need a breakout for another part, but let's do this first as a regular.
This is case State versus Tatiana Whitaker, 24 CR 6704F, accused of terroristic threats and acts, and count 2, battery. The terroristic threats and acts allegedly occurred on February 23rd, 2024, and the battery allegedly on January 28th, 2024. Ms. Victor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third, 2021 out of Clayton County, battery, trespass, terroristic threats, simple battery. On probation as of this year out of Clayton County for ag assault. Had a 2019 ag assault, ag battery arrest. That's all.
All right. And Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that was reported in February of 2024, Your Honor. Investigators with the Domestic Violence Unit reviewed and obtained warrants in June of this year. The victim in this case is Mrs. Bailey. She was in a short-term relationship with the defendant and they never lived together, which is why there's no DV designation on this case. She made a police report that while dating for a short period of time, the defendant assaulted her on January on the 28th, specifically at a party at their residence, 2176 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway Northwest. Because she became jealous. She punched her and busted her in the lip. The police report she made showed a busted lip at that time. She then followed up with police in February and reported that she no longer had any relationship with the defendant, but had been receiving harassing and threatening text messages and calls from the defendant. And then she showed police the photograph and messages she received on February the 23rd, saying, "Send me where you are, send me your location," and then sending the victim a photo of a gun with an extended barrel sitting in the lap of the defendant as a threat. So that threat was verbalized, made to the victim. She'd been receiving multiple threats and calls since the incident in January when they broke up, and she made this police report. I would note that the defendant does have, while a short criminal history, it is very violent. Someone just got a TPO against her through Superior Court in April of this year. She just pled guilty to aggravated assault and is on first offender probation out of Clayton County. That started in July, and she has an open aggravated assault and aggravated battery in DeKalb County, Your Honor. The victim that we've been in contact with has confirmed the information. She says she's afraid of the defendant, wants to have absolutely no contact. And we would ask for a $3,000 surety, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with Mrs. Bailey. Her first name is Cadonna, Cadonna, and it's Bally. Stay away from any location where she lives or works, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. But we'd also request that she surrender all firearms. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Other than asking the court to consider a $1,500 to $2,000 surety bond, the conditions mentioned are things we agree with. She is she's stably employed in the sense she has a very good temporary agency that she uses. So she has a variety of jobs that she goes to, but she's been using the same temporary agency for quite some months, and she's pleased with that. An alternative, there's been some discussion between me and her mom and her about maybe moving back to Alabama. But if she did so, she would certainly keep up with her Georgia court address, obligations.
All right, thank you. On the terroristic threats, it's going to be $1,000 surety. On the battery, it's going to be a $1,500 surety. Total bond is $2,500. Reset date is October 8th. No further contact with Cadonna, Cadonna, Bailey, and to stay away from 2176 Donnelly Hollowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta. Ms. Victor, once you make bond, please make sure that you comply with these conditions. You're not allowed to own any firearms or be in possession of any, so make sure you surrender all your firearms to the local precinct within 30 days of being released for destruction. Your next court date will be October 8th. If you do make bond, we will send your next court date to your current mailing address. If you change it, make sure you provide your change of address to the clerk's office in writing. Notice to the United States Postal Service is not sufficient notice. Thank you.
Judge, you said that's a surety bond, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Judge Law. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you, Principal.
Position,
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
position number 4.
This is State versus Joshua McKell Cheatham, 24 CR 6706C, accused of theft by taking. Mr. Cheatham, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be, is it Mr. McLean?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cook, thank you. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third, 2017 battery DV, dismissed. 2016 possession of drug-related objects, dismissed. Jail was the recommendation.
Ms. Allen? Oh, Ms. Mokeke, sorry.
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is accused of taking $1,078 in cash from the AutoZone located at 1959 at Metropolitan Parkway in Atlanta while he was an employee there. There is surveillance video of the defendant taking the money from the register and placing it in his pocket. He also confessed that he did take the money because he was going through hard times and he was willing to pay it back. The state's recommendation is going to be for a signature bond. We are fine with it being through the jail as pretrial recommended. Stay away from the incident location, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook, I'm going to
No
grant,
objection.
all right, it's a $2,000 signature bond through the jail to stay away from 1959 Metropolitan Parkway, the AutoZone business. And Mr. Cheatham, you'll need to understand that even though I've granted you a release order, a release bond, this is still an open, active criminal case against you. You'll be required to make sure that you maintain a current address with the clerk's office and that you come back to court when summoned. If you reoffend or get arrested again for any other criminal violation, this signature bond can be revoked. Thank you.
number 5, Crawford.
This is State versus Corey Sanchez Crawford, case number 24CR6707D. This is for 3 charges stemming from a September 23rd, 2024 incident in which he's been charged now with battery, family violence, and 2 counts of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Mr. Crawford, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in May, DeKalb County for battery. 2024 probation, 2019 simple battery, 2017 burglary, first degree. What else?
Was that a conviction or an arrest?
The burglary?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's first offender. It's burglary, first degree, first offender.
I see.
Got an open armed robbery in Superior Court, 23 CP 217349, and wanted out of DeKalb County for simple assault.
All right. Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 2775 Vineyards Drive, Southeast in Atlanta. Officers received a call about an ongoing dispute at the incident location. Upon arrival, they met with Paris Southall, who stated that the defendant had struck her multiple times on her right leg and face with a closed fist. Officers did observe bruises on the victim. The victim told officers that the parties had been in a relationship for about 4 years and were living together for about 6 months. She told officers that the dispute occurred when she tried to end the relationship and the defendant took her phone, which caused them to fight. She stated the defendant also tried to hit her in the face, but she defended herself against the blows by putting a pillow to her face. When officers informed the defendant that he had an outstanding warrant and they would be placing him under arrest, he did not comply, and officers had to bring him to the ground to detain him. Our office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Southall, who states her and the defendant are still in a relationship. They live together at the location and they share no children. She is now denying the events in the warrant, stating the defendant never hit her in her face or her leg, that the fight was mutual and they were pushing each other. She states the bruises that the officer saw is from medication she takes, which causes her to bruise. And both her and the defendant had called the police and hung up, and she only called the police because she wanted the argument to stop. She states that she does not want to press charges. So the victim has now changed the story that she told officers, which is not new in cases like this, but as always, it is concerning because we don't want this cycle of violence to continue. The parties have been in contact since the defendant has been in jail. During the calls that they have, they discuss his bond. They argue about various things and also argue about her calling the police. And she tells the defendant that, babe, you were scaring me. I was so scared. She also tells the defendant what you were doing that night. I was really scared for my life. You have never acted that way before. So obviously this victim was very afraid, and that is why she called the police. There is a concern, of course, that the defendant will intimidate this victim. And as you heard, he does have an open battery case as well as another open felony case. The state's recommendation is going to be for a $3,500 surety bond, no further contact with this victim, stay away from that incident location, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I believe Ms. Southall is on the Zoom, so if you could please sound for her.
Ms. Southall, if you'd like to address the court, please unmute.
Okay, I already know that line.
And then correct your Zoom panel because you're sideways right now.
Hold on.
I don't know what device you're using, but you're sideways. There we go. Okay. Now, yes. Now raise your right hand. Other right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
So you understand that we got this warrant from police officer Anwar Quick based on your conversations with the officer and based
Yes,
with...
I understand that, but I also, like, my mom was trying to get to the situation before anybody can, because I'm bipolar. I'm diagnosed with it. I could show you the 3 pictures of my mess. I hadn't took my medicine for 2 days, and I was having a mental breakdown. I'm bipolar. I just things, whatever this I can say, like whatever's coming to my mind, I can say it. I wasn't calm. I was in the right mindset. And yes, I was scared, but he was trying to calm me down because I was having a mental breakdown. I was throwing stuff like I was having a pure mental breakdown. My mom was telling him what to do. He was trying to calm me down. Yes, we was having an argument about something, like we could do, but he didn't punch me. I told the officer that because the officer that I scratched him. Like we both was telling the officer we did things. So I seen that. So I said, okay, like what? But he was trying to hold me down to calm me down. My sister was trying to hold me down to calm me down. I was having a mental breakdown. Haven't had my medicine in days. I do suffer from mental health. We've been living together since I think May. We've been living together since May. Not 6 months, and we haven't been together 4 years. I've known him, but we have not been together 4 years. We just got together.
What
in,
are you
like,
asking the
April.
court today?
I'm asking the court that we are able to be in contact because I may be having a baby on the way. I do ask we be in contact because we have bills, we have car notes together, we have stuff together. Like this was a big thing, a small thing that turned into big, and it's definitely a lesson learned out of it with all that police calling and stuff. But I definitely got to be able to see him and talk to him.
Unfortunately, even if I release him today, he has other holes to deal with.
I know he does have a hold because the girl that said that he did that, she actually came to my job.
I don't need to hear the details of that case.
Okay, but yeah, I already know I won't see him today. I'm just saying once he do be released, I would like to have contact with him. I mean, I have to. We have to
Understood.
We have a lot together.
Okay, thank you. On the battery family, I'm sorry, Mr. Cook, yes, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Well, my biggest concern is his prior cases for battery, this open case that he has in DeKalb for another violent offense. He has an open felony case as well. And then on top of everything else, this matter. And Mr. Crawford just doesn't seem to have a good track record of avoiding trouble with the law. With regards to the battery family violence, that's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. With regards to each count of willful obstruction of an officer, that's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 3. So this is going to be a split bond of $8,000, out of which $3,000 is a surety bond, and the remainder is going to be $5,000 is going to be a signature bond through pretrial, level 3. Once Mr. Crawford makes his bond, the $3,000 portion, and he is released to DeKalb County authorities and he resolves the hold that he has in DeKalb County, he'll be required to report to pretrial services once a week. Within 30 days of being released from DeKalb County Jail, he is to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program, and that's a 24-week program, but that he must enroll in at his expense and to pay for it out of his own pocket. He's to have no further violent contact with Paris Southall. He may return to the Vineyard Drive location, but there can be no physical or verbal altercation with Miss Paris Southall. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and he'll be subject to random screens by pretrial for illegal drugs and or alcohol. Marijuana is still illegal in the state of Georgia, so please keep that in mind. And also no firearms. You're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. Thank you.
That's per judge.
Yeah. So it's an $8,000 split bond. Next court date is October 8th.
Number 8.
This is State versus Luis Segura. Mr. Segura, I don't mean to be rude, but do you understand English? Too, if you could unmute just to clarify.
I think his English is very good.
All right, thank you, Mr. McLean.
It's position number 8. That's
Oh, 8, sorry, Bradley Seaton. I beg your pardon. I was on the same page. Sorry about that. This is Bradley Seaton. Okay. Mr. Seaton is accused of harassing communications and misdemeanor stalking from September 23rd, 2024. Case number 24CR6699G. Mr. Seaton, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook?
No, but it's Mr. McLean, Your Honor.
Oh, McLean, okay. Well, you set up, so I wasn't sure.
I know.
Okay. So,
Second arrest,
okay,
2018 possession of marijuana, sale of marijuana, and fleeing an officer. That's it.
all right, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 23rd of September between 10 a.m. and 1 a.m. into the 24th of September evening at 550 Northridge Parkway in Sandy Springs. The defendant is alleged to have repeatedly contacted an ex-girlfriend. Her name is Amber Robinson. She reported that she started to receive calls from the defendant requesting that she come over and hang out. When she declined that request, he then called her more than 30 times within a 15-minute period. She stopped answering those calls and began to receive text messages from friends. So he's contacting third parties, asking her to get in touch. She blocked his number and she made a police report. In the presence of police, she then received multiple calls through, I believe, Apple email and other people's numbers. He used his brother's number at one point. Police actually spoke with him on the phone at that time and told him to decease and stop contacting the young woman immediately. He did so again while police were present. They instructed him a second time. She then continued to receive contact by the defendant through third parties. Some of those calls were recorded. There are multiple screenshots that were taken of the messages. And that's the basis for the stalking, repeated contact after being told and ordered not to by Officer Gomez in Sandy Springs. We did communicate with the young woman, Mrs. Robinson. She reports that they did have a relationship for a period of time. He not only continued to call her and contact her, but she also reported that the neighbors called the police because he came to the location and was banging on her door as well. She reported that in July, the defendant did something similar when she went out with some girlfriends and didn't respond to his phone calls. He showed up at her house at that point as well, followed her into her neighborhood with his car, got out of his car and screamed at her. She filed for an order for protection today. We have requested that that order be served on the defendant there at the jail and provided it to Deputy Norris. We're asking for absolutely no contact. Stay away from the location, Northridge Parkway 550 in Sandy Springs, as well as the job where this young woman works. That's 5006 Roswell Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, Your Honor. We would ask for a $4,000 surety given the information in this report. I also did review jail calls. The first phone call this young man makes is to his dad, where he says, I guess I didn't know this kind of behavior could get me arrested. His dad lets him know that he was clearly out of control. There are other admissions made during this phone call. Being directly told by a police officer while you are committing a crime that you should cease and desist is pretty straightforward. The fact that police then had to tell him 2 more times and then go to his residence and arrest him because he failed to follow through with a directive is a huge red flag, Your Honor. That's why we're asking for a surety bond. He has a felony drug arrest in his history, but I believe he pled down to reckless driving. Thank you. And the victim is not on Zoom today. She has requested not to be a part of this proceeding, but she is aware.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, other than asking the court to consider a lower surety bond, such as $1,000 or $2,000, the other elements sound correct.
All right. On the harassing communications, given the nature of the warrant as well as the alleged admissions during the jail calls, please remember all jail phone calls are monitored especially by the prosecutors. They are our #1 busybodies where jail calls are concerned. Your bond is going to be set at a $3,000 surety bond. On the stalking charge, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond to pretrial level 3. And within 15 days of being released, Mr. Seaton is to undergo a BHET and an MHET at his expense. Both evaluations must be completed before 30 days have lapsed. While he's out on a bond, he will report to pretrial once a week. and have absolutely no contact in any way, form, or manner with Amber Robinson to stay away from her place of residence, where she works, wherever she happens to be physically located. He's also not to discuss her on social media, not attempt any kind of communication through a third party. Next court date is going to be October 18th.
What's that breakdown again?
October 8th.
Breakdown.
3,000 surety on count 1 and 3,000 signature bonds with pretrial level 3 on count 2.
All right.
$6,000 split bond.
That one per judge too, though.
Yeah. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you.
Okay.
Number 7. Come on, sir. Go down. Oh,
Is that interpreter case, deputy?
we don't need an interpreter.
Okay. This is 24 CR 6709C. Luis Segura is accused of battery, family violence, criminal trespass causing damage to property. And the third count, on count 3 is another count of battery, family violence. Incident date appears to be August 17th, 2024. Mr. Segura, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. McLean. And any prize, Mr. Howard?
Fourth arrest, open DUI from this year, DeKalb County. Open trespass, simple battery against police. DUI suspended license. 2023 trespass arrest. That's it.
Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 1650 Arthur Langford Jr. Place Southwest in Atlanta. The property manager, Angela Mora, called police on the day of the incident to report a dispute between the tenants. Officers arrived at the location and spoke with the victim, Miguel Castellanos, who stated that his roommate, the defendant, was intoxicated and moving out when he decided that he wanted to fight the victim for no reason. The defendant struck the victim multiple times, resulting in bruising to the victim's chest and neck, abrasions to his chest, and a laceration to his face. As the defendant was leaving, he threw a brick at the victim's car, which shattered the windshield. Ms. Mora witnessed the incident and verified the victim's account of events. Our office has had a chance to speak with Mr. Castellanos, who confirmed that the defendant no longer lives with him. He confirmed the events in the warrant, and he was very adamant that he did not want to go forward with the charges. And he wanted the charges to be dropped because he does not want the defendant to get in trouble. The state is concerned that this defendant will intimidate the victim. So the state's recommendation is going to be $1,000 surety on each count of battery, $1,000 on the criminal trespass, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the incident location, anger awareness, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I believe Mr. Castellanos is on the Zoom, so if you could please sound for him.
Mr. Castellano, if you want to testify, you will need to unmute and start your video.
Hello, Judge.
I can't see you, sir.
Sorry. All right. Hello.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Right.
Okay. You understand that the decision to prosecute this matter is only with the prosecutor. Unfortunately, you can put your hand down. Unfortunately, even though you can put your hand down, sir, even though if you want to drop the charges, that's not your decision to make.
All right.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
I just wanted to know that Luis, that he's been my friend. He needs help, you know. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, if I might, grab the right sheet of paper. There we go. Your Honor, my client is skilled in various construction skills. He's mostly a painter, but he easily finds work for self-employed, but he easily finds work. What I would define, I don't think he used this terminology, but I would, as an independent contractor. And so he will be steadily employed in the Atlanta metro area. He is stable. He has, I believe, his wife here. He lives in a stable address. Mail should be no problem. Court appearance should be no problem. For those reasons, Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond or a $1,000 surety bond total.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your Honor, based on,
Go ahead.
sorry, based on his previous history, I do see the victim said that he needs help. I think that help may be alcohol related. Would that be correct, Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
So we would ask maybe that he take maybe an ABET, maybe that would be helpful for him, or attend AA meetings, but just something to assist with the alcohol issue.
Thank you.
Well,
On
question.
on the criminal trespass causing damage to property, count 2, that's going to be $1,000 surety bond. On each count of the battery family violence, that's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Level 3, which means that Mr. Segura has to report to pretrial services once a week. She is not to consume any alcohol, and he's not to consume any illegal drugs. He'll be subject to random screens, and if he fails a screen, that is, if he tests positive for any alcohol or any illegal drugs, this additional $4,000 signature bond will be revoked and converted to a cash bond only. Within 30 days of being released, Mr. Segura will enroll and complete a 24-week domestic violence intervention program, and he must enroll in those classes within 30 days of being released. Within 15 days of being released, he must undergo an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit himself to any treatment or counseling as required by the evaluator, and that must be done at his expense. He's to have no further violent contact with Miguel Castellano, no physical violence and no verbal altercations. He's also to stay away from the entire apartment complex. And I can't recall the address. Was it Ashbury or something like that?
It was Arthur Langford Jr. Place.
Is that the address for the entire complex?
Yes. Question.
Just 1 second. I just want to make sure. Mr. Segura, that means you cannot return to that property at all. You're allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to your apartment to get your personal items, but that visit cannot exceed 1 hour. After that, once you are released from jail, you are to update the court with your new mailing address within 30 days of being released. And that must be done in writing. Yes, Mr. Castellano?
Is there any possibility that remove the TPS?
The TPS, is that an immigration term?
The trespassing, yeah.
Protected words.
I don't
I
understand.
think he wants you to remove the trespassing.
All right.
Oh, no. We have an eyewitness with regards to the alleged damage. So that charge is going to remain in place.
The no contact.
All right.
No violent contact.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
And his next court date is October 8th if he doesn't make the $1,000 bond. There's a $5,000 split, October 8th. Thank you. Who do we have, please, in courtroom 2?
Position number 9.
This is Dylan Lamont Stafford, accused of 2 counts of battery from June 29, 2024. Mr. Stafford, you have the right to remain silent as advised, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any prize, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2011, possession of marijuana, dismissed.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from June. Between 5 and 7 p.m., police were called to 3255 Peachtree Road Northeast by the victim in this case, Mr. John Mills. Mr. Mills is a barber, and this is the second time he'd cut the hair of the young man in front of you. The location is his shop.
Whose shop? John Mills?
Mr. Mills, yes.
Okay.
So the defendant came in, got his haircut, paid for his haircut, left. then came back and said he was dissatisfied with his haircut and asked for his money back. Mr. Mills gave him his money back, and the defendant left again. He then returned a second time and began making threats towards Mr. Mills and becoming aggressive. There were 2 witnesses at the location who watched this happen. The defendant began punching Mr. Mills. He was seen to have a busted lip as well as bruising on the back of his head. A portion of this was also captured on surveillance. You can see Mr. Mills on the ground after he's been assaulted. Mr. Mills did actually go and get a TPO following this incident, but because of an issue with service, which is frequent, he wasn't able to get past the ex parte stage. The defendant was unable to be served, so it was dismissed. Mr. Mills reported that he stopped working at the location because he's afraid that this would happen again. He is requesting absolutely no contact. We're going to keep the address for Mr. Mills confidential. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons is the other thing that we would request. No firearms. And based on the facts, this is a stranger assault. We've got busted lip bruising in front of people after receiving your money back because you got a bad haircut. We're asking for a $4,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
McLean? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. John Mills, if you'd like to testify, you're free to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, you also have a right to not say anything. Okay, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client has a stable address. It's listed on his 3-card booking sheet. All his phone numbers are correct there. He is local. He is 31 years old. He has worked as an Amazon driver in the past. At the moment, he's unemployed. He has a bachelor's degree in business. I think that those are factors that will enable him to understand the seriousness of the charges and to be sure to be punctual to court. And we would ask the court to consider a signature bond or a $1,000 surety bond.
All right. The current address we have on Mr. Stafford appears to be 2870 Parr, P-A-R-R Court, Unit 501. Is that correct?
Misspelled. That's FAR, P-H-A-R-R.
All right. Ms. Bridgewater will need to correct his mailing address to 2870 Parr Court, P-H-A-R-R-C-T. And is the unit correct?
Yes, it is.
I'll take care of it, Judge.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Zip code 30305. Okay. On the count 1 on the battery, that's going to be $1,000 surety. On count 2 of the battery charge, that's going to be a $3,000 signature bond for pretrial services. This is going to be a $4,000 split bond. Next court date is October 8th. Once you make bond, Mr. Stafford, you are to have no contact with John Mills. You're not to return to that place of business. You're not to have any contact with Mr. Mills, either in person, through mail, email, phones, computer devices. You're not to discuss him on social media, and you're not to attempt to communicate with him through any third party. You're to report to pretrial services twice a month. This will be a level 2. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Your next court date will be October 8th. Thank you.
Number 10.
This is Damon Swain, accused of 2 counts of battery and 1 count of simple battery from March 16th of this year. Mr. Swain, you've been accused under 24 CR 6703F. You've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. And Ms. Bridgewater, please make a note of the 2 other open cases listed on the calendar.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, any priors?
73. On probation out of call for suspended license. Open terrorist threats out of Gwinnett. Open battery out of state court 24 CR 000449F. Open simple battery 23 CR 001 796F.
That's good. Thank you very much.
You
Yes.
want the 2021? You got that one?
Yes, I've seen it on the booking sheet.
There's 2 more open cases.
Yeah, that's
Oh, the 20, I've got the 21 CR 4567 and 21 CR 4586. I do
Yes,
see
Your
them.
Honor. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Ellen.
Your Honor, this is an incident that, occurred March of this year, March the 16th of 2024. Police responded to a 911 call and went to 320 Fairburn Road Southwest to apartment B1. They were called based on a physical dispute. On scene, victim Kayla Collins reported that she wasn't sure how, but her ex-boyfriend had gotten in through the gate at the location and came to her apartment that day. He assaulted her while they were speaking. He punched her in the face multiple times. She was seen to have swelling to the back of her head as well as scratches on her face. She said that while she called the police, he stood there and yelled at her that he didn't care. While police were on scene talking to her, she received multiple calls from this defendant, which she answered in front of the police, and he yelled at her about why she had called the police. And they included in their report that as they approached the location, he was seen fleeing on a four-wheeler, an ATV. The warrants, interestingly enough, have additional information and state that the victim described being strangled by the defendant as she was there outside of her residence. And that she was unable to breathe when he grabbed her by her neck forcefully. She reports that they'd known each other for 4 months. That's the only reason why this doesn't have a family violence indicator on it. I'm unclear whether they ever lived together. But the defendant does have 4 open cases. And of interest, the case 24 CR 000449F is actually the same incident location that happened in January of 2024. And the defendant received a bond January the 22nd of 2024 from Judge Morrow. It was a $5,000 good bond, and he was ordered to stay away from 320 Fairburn Road. During that incident, he actually assaulted a young woman who had just broken up with him, who lives in the same complex. Her name is Shashonda Wells, causing injuries on her face. She broke up with him, and the police report indicates that he came there to confront her about that. It's very similar. She also reported that he pointed a firearm at her, and police talked to the gentleman in front of you, and he admitted striking the victim. That's an open case in Orca with his 3 other current open cases. He's got an open case in Gwinnett from the 20th of January, 2024, which is a felony terroristic threats made against Kimberly Dorsey and Jocelyn Dorsey. He's on a bond issued August 18th of 2024. His other open case, the 23 CR 001796F, is a simple battery against a different woman who, interestingly enough, reported that she broke up with the defendant and then he came to her house and assaulted her. He has a $10,000 good bond in that case from 2023 that you issued, Your Honor, requiring him to have no contact and stay away from that apartment complex. His other 2 cases include a battery against another woman named Regina Glass in front of her 2-year-old child. That's a $7,000 good bond that he currently has. That's the 21 CR case from 2021. And then the other 2021 case is a forgery where he counterfeited checks from his employer and tried to pass those checks off, $840, I believe, worth of money at the bank. The defendant does have a 2021 battery family violence against Miss Regina Glass, who's also the victim in the open 2021 case. We had to dismiss that case when we were unable to get her into court. He's got an aggravated assault arrest that just resulted in possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He's got 2 of those convictions from 2018, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The victim in one of those cases is Keisha Sheffield. Many women here. I think that's the person he's calling from the jail. Is that your mom, sir? Ultimately, not only does he have many convictions, including a kidnapping and false imprisonment out of Clayton County in 2007, but felony level aggravated assault against a pregnant woman in Florida from 2001 all the way back to the 90s, Your Honor. This gentleman presents a huge risk, not only to the public, but any woman, it seems, in Fulton County, has absolutely no care about orders of the court, has, let's see, 10, 15, 21, $24,000 currently in bonds that he's in violation of for 4 open cases in this jurisdiction, has another case in another jurisdiction that he's now in violation of that bond on, and is in front of you after assaulting a woman at her house in broad daylight. We'd be asking for a $15,000 cash bond, Your Honor. Stay away from the location. Again, 320 Fairburn Road. I don't know. Hopefully you're not dating somebody else over there. Absolutely no contact with the victim in this case, Mrs. Collins. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And obviously no firearms. Thank you.
McLean?
Your Honor, as it is one count, we would be amiss not to ask the court to consider a low bond, such as a $1,000 or $2,000 surety bond.
It's 3
However,
counts, sir.
Excuse me?
It's 3 counts.
3 counts.
Right.
2 counts of
But-
battery and 1 count of, so that's one warrant for battery.
Right. But at the same time, Your Honor, nonetheless, given what the bonds are already, more realistically, we should ask the court to consider something that would be no larger than about a $10,000 surety bond. Thank you.
Thank you. On count 1 of the battery is $2,500. On the count 2 is a $2,500, and count 3 is a $2,000 bond. This is a total of a $7,000 cash bond only. No further contact with Kayla Collins, and to stay away from the entire complex, 500 yards away from 320 Fairburn Road. I think that was in Atlanta, Georgia. Within 30 days of making bond, Mr. Swain shall update the court with his new mailing address since he cannot return to the 320 Fairburn Road. Furthermore, upon release from for the bond, Mr. Swain shall be equipped with an ankle monitor with all monitoring fees to be paid out of Mr. Swain's own pocket. Failure to make 3 consecutive payments for monitoring will result in his bond being revoked and he to remain in jail pending a trial. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no firearms and weapons. And his next court date is going to be October 8th. Unmute courtroom 2, please. Mr. Swain, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, the statements can and will be used against you. Please remember you have an attorney and you can speak with him without incriminating yourself.
May I speak to my attorney, please?
Yes, you will have a moment after the court's completed. Thank you. Next. After court is completed, your attorney or you can reach out to your attorney. Thank you.
Okay, we're done with the courtroom.
Okay. Any announcement on Craig Washington?
A waiver, Your Honor. We'll find the form and send it in, wherever the heck it is.
This is a waiver of appearance or waiver of first appearance?
Waiver of everything.
Right.
Everything. Right.
All right, so let me then go through the calendar. Position 1, Alfred Broughton was the $2,000 surety bond. Reset is October 8th with his companion case. Position 2, Taquan Brown is a $3,000 surety. Reset to October 8th along with the companion case. Position 3, Burnett is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from all model property for the notice. Position 4, Cheatham is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail for the notice. Position 5, Crawford is a I believe this was a split bond. So it's an $8,000 split bond. Reset date is October 8th, 2024. with a DVIP requirement. Position 6, Stephen Horn. Any announcements? Mr. Cook or Mr. McLean, have you had a chance to speak to Stephen Horn?
Yes, that's my client. We spoke to him. I was assuming he was going to be at the hearing, unless there's an announcement from the jail.
Courtroom 2, do you have any announcement on position 6, Stephen Horn?
Mr. Cook, he told you that he wanted to waive, remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah, kind of there at the last minute. Okay. I'll get that paperwork in, but I am prepared. I can get that in immediately following, but I'm prepared to do the hearing.
Okay, so we will address this shortly. Position 7, Segura, was a $5,000 split bond, reset date October 8th. Position 8, Seaton, is a $6,000 split bond, reset date October 8th. He's required to do a BHET and a MHET. Position 9, Stafford, is a $4,000 split bond, and that's reset to October 8th. Position 10, Swain, is a $7,000 cash bond only, reset dates October 8th. Position 11 and 12 is a waiver of first appearance. And with regards to Mr. Craig Washington, his bond is set at $1,500. Well, it'll be $750. Well, for position 11, there'll be $1,000 on the theft by shoplifting and $500 on the criminal trespass for a $1,500 surety and to stay away from the incident location. And for count 12, that's going to be a $500 surety and to stay away from the incident location. And for position 13, Tatiana Victor, that's a $2,500 signature bond. I believe it was a signature bond through pre-trial.
That's a good bond. That's what I got.
Oh, it's a good bond. Okay, sorry.
Well,
Read my own writing. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's a surety bond. Reset dates October 8th. And going back to Stephen Horn. Mr. Horn is accused of simple battery family violence from April 29th, 2024, case number 24 CR 67088. Mr. Horn's appearance has been waived by Mr. Cook, his public defense counsel. And Mr. Cook, you'll follow that up with your waiver in writing?
Yes, it'll be in just shortly after the hearing.
All right. And Mr. Howard, any priors on Mr. Horn?
42. Last arrest was this year. Gambling, unlawful to keep or run gaming table out of Cleveland. On probation, 5 counts of ag assault, 1 count crude in the third, 2 counts simple battery DV. It's 21 SC 179411. 2021 criminal damage to property out of Clayton County. 2020 criminal damage to property. 2019 FTA. 2019 possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana, escape, felony obstruction, driving without a valid.
So presently he's got a FTA hold and a probation violation hold, correct?
I'm not sure. But he got that 2017 ag assault conviction too.
Okay. So right now the holds I see are an FTA for 24 CR 006708 and a probation hold for 24 PB 001657. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Allen or Ms. Mulcahy?
That would be me, Your Honor. I have that this incident occurred April 29, 2024 at 385 Yonkers Avenue Northwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Lakita Nance, who shares a child with the defendant. Ms. Nance had just come out of the shower when she realized the defendant had entered into her apartment through a bedroom window. The defendant was looking for a firearm that he had left there. The victim told him that she had given it to his brother. The defendant then got upset and proceeded to strike the victim and take her phone. She followed him outside because, of course, he had her phone and she wanted it back. They continued to argue and the defendant started fighting her. The victim's grandmother lives with her at the location and told officers she heard arguing and then saw the defendant begin to fight and strike the victim. Our office has spoken with Ms. Lakita Nance, who states her and the defendant are in a relationship. They do not live together. They share one child, and she is currently pregnant by the defendant, but she was not pregnant at the time of the incident. She confirmed the incident location is her residence, and she also confirmed the events in the warrant and said they were just going through a bad breakup. They do have a violent history and have had previous violent altercations. That 21 SC case that had the 5 counts of aggravated assault and the 2 counts of simple battery is against the same victim. I think in that case, he was accused of pointing a firearm at her and also several members of her family. The victim does state that she does want to have contact with the defendant. They have been in contact since this incident, and there hasn't been any violence since. And she states that she is not afraid of him. However, the state does have some concerns about this defendant and this victim being in contact, particularly given that they have a previous violent criminal history with each other, and she has been victimized by him in the past. We're concerned that he will intimidate this victim. We are also concerned that he will reoffend as he has a whopping 42 arrest cycles. He does not respond to the legal process. He doesn't show up to court. He has multiple FTAs in his criminal history. The defendant and the victim have been in contact since he's been in jail. They argue about various things during their call. They discuss his charges. He's asked her if she could put some money so that he could get out of jail. She stated that she has other financial obligations that are more. The state's recommendation, given the facts of this case and the defendant's history, is going to be for, at minimum, a $3,500 surety bond, no further contact with this victim, stay away from the incident location, an FVIP, that he surrender all firearms that he shouldn't have anyway, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I believe Miss Nance is on the Zoom, so if you could please sound for her.
Lakita Nance, if you'd like to address the court, please unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. McLean, Mr. Cook.
It's not good, Chair. Your Honor, my,
Okay. Hello?
Hello, Miss Nance, are you in front of children right now?
No, ma'am, I'm at work. I'm not in front of kids.
Do you have food in your mouth?
Yeah, I was on my lunch break, but I can take it out.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to tell us? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said I really don't even know what's about to really say. She kind of summed up everything already.
Okay. If you have nothing else to add, please mute your screen.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. McCook?
Your Honor, my client is 34 years old. He is not employed at the moment. He does have a number of kids, 3 of which apparently live with him full time. I think he's also the father of one of the alleged victims' children. I don't know if that's one of the children that live with him. Let's see. He's currently, living in a residence with some other family members. I may have mentioned he's not working. He does have a GED. We would only ask the court to consider his very, very low income, which is, for all intents and purposes, from what we can find, zero when establishing a surety bond. And we'd like to keep it as a surety bond and as low as possible, Your Honor.
Okay. On the simple battery, the bond's going to be set at $2,000. It's a surety bond. No further contact with Lakita Nance. No contact with the children that he shares with Miss Nance. If he intends to obtain any contact with the child or children he shares with Miss Nance, he must file a legitimation action. Before his release from the jail, he must be equipped with an ankle monitor to make sure that he stays away from Miss Lakita Nance, from where she lives, works, or wherever she happens to physically be. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and his next court date is October 8th. Monitoring fees shall be paid for by Mr. Horn. Thank you.
What's that amount?
$2,000 surety
$2,000.
plus an ankle monitor.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that was the only other case. Are there any other questions with regards to any other matters?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, folks, I will see you maybe later this week. Okay. Take care, everyone.
We'll wait with bated breath.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Stay dry.
Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you